what is love, why we have love backwards, and how we can make it all okay in this fun, free-range, and insight-packed dialogue with future hacker Bix Bickson. All right. Hey ho, let's go. Hello, my legendary friends. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Legends and Losers. I am so stoked you're here. We have a great conversation with my friend and mentor about really what is love and how we can be proactive. That is to say, can we actually make love happen? Can we design our relationships like we design our love, or is love, or like our life rather? Or is love just something that happens to us and our relationships are the way they are? You can bet where we come out on this discussion. And man, it's an eye-opener. Now, before we get to Bix, off the top, wanted to let you know that we have a new mini book coming out on category design for your career, for you as a solopreneur, and for small E entrepreneurs. So Forbes called Play Bigger the handbook or the guidebook for building the next Facebook or Google. Our new mini book is the opposite of that. It's for individuals and for growing small E entrepreneurs, and it lays out how personal branding is BS and why personal category design can make a difference. So we have a teaser for our new mini book. Think of it as a white paper, and we want to send it to you. The teaser is called Niche You. So if you would like the preview teaser of our new book, which is coming out later this year, then here's what we'd like you to do. Write a review of Legends and Losers, take a screenshot of that review, email it to blackhole@legendsandlosers.com, and we will send you a preview of our new book, the teaser called Niche You. Also off the top, want to say thank you again to Jordan French and the very kind people at CIO Magazine, CIO.com, for naming us a top podcast for entrepreneurs in 2018. Thank you so much, CIO.com. All right, love, Bix Bickson. It's Valentine's week, so here he is. Bix is a future hacker. He and his son, Joe, work with leading corporations and startups around the world and executives around the world to help them create and invent and ultimately hack the future of their choosing. We have a fascinating conversation, a wild ride of a conversation, and a conversation I don't think you've ever heard before about love. Here he is, Bix Bickson.
Go through them again. Shape of Water. It's about a young woman falling in love with a monster. Really, the hunger for love in one's life. The Darkest Hour. Winston Churchill's love for his country when his closest advisor was pressuring him to understand, don't you realize, Mr. Churchill, Europe has been lost, and the best we could do is make a deal with Hitler. Roman J. Israel Esquire. Denzel Washington, portrayal of his love for jurisprudence, the philosophy of law. How can the law have us live meaningful lives? Call Me by My Name. A young man struggle with love for another man and love himself at the same time. Ladybird. A daughter's love, as tense as it can be for her mother, and a mother's love, as tense as it can be for her daughter. The Post. A publisher and her editor's love for the truth and the First Amendment. 3 Billboards, as you said. A mother's
What's the full name of that one, Bix?
unstoppable love. 3 Billboards in Ebbing, Minnesota.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome. A mother's unstoppable love for her daughters, fighting with everything she had to find her daughter's murderer. And Dunkirk, the heroic love for a country soldier in the face of impossible odds. So it's all about love. all different expressions of what we call love. Why are we so attracted, called to, mesmerized, blinded by love? Why do we sit in dark rooms for hours, crying, laughing, holding our breath with excitement? It's all for love. So I'm saying that why we love these movies, these characters, none of them were anything less than themselves. Sometimes the story makes us think that, no, they're going to lose themselves. The odds are too big. They'll sell out. But just when we thought they would, they come back to themselves and hold it. Love.
So do I take from that, Bix, that love is the ultimate motivation for the things we do in our life?
Well, it's the ultimate attractor, what we're all hungering for.
Say more about that.
Well, question is, what is love? One way of talking about it.
Yeah. Or the other thing that pops to my head is, what are the things we are hungering for?
Well, I think the things that we're hungering for is the deepest connection that we can possibly create with one another. The big lie on the planet is that we're not connected. And yet we sit in these movies or we go through life and we have this experience, there's something that is possible in the living of our lives. And one way to talk about that is love. And so one way to talk about love is the experience that someone else is all right exactly the way they are. So we got to stop and think about that not even think about it. We got to stop and consider that for a moment. The experience that someone else is all right exactly the way they are.
Yes.
So that means I'm experiencing that. That's why
my
love
experience of you or our experience of another is they're perfect. They're all right the way they are.
Yes, which also means all right the way they're not.
Yes.
And so, I've been thinking about that since you've invited me to have this conversation. And I was thinking that the sentence is, the experience that someone else is all right exactly the way they are. That means I need to be experiencing that. It's not like I'm sitting there having an experience of my wife, my children, my friends, my colleagues, my clients, and that I have this experience, but I'm really saying, well, if you just were a little less pushy, or if you just were a little taller, or if you just were more kind, or if you just were more expressive, or if that means that my experience is consistent with, they are exactly the way they are. And that is the experience of love.
Yeah. And I love exactly who they are, what they are, how they are being in the world. Yes. And it's such a powerful statement, because to be on the receiving end of that, I mean, you tell me, Bix, but it's probably, if not absolutely, the greatest feeling there is. Like I think about my parents, right? And just my presence makes them happy. Like not doing anything, not saying anything, maybe not even being in the same room, although that's probably preferred, but just knowing like I'm here makes them happy. And it occurs to me sometimes, like, well, how many people are there in the world that are like profoundly happy just because I'm here, even if I'm like, you know, napping on the couch, farting or something. Right.
Right.
And so,
Yes.
yeah, that's a powerful thing to experience that as the receiver of it. And um, yeah, I think I would probably, at least for myself, say it's as powerful, and probably, actually, now that I say it out loud, way more powerful, um, to be the person that has that experience of someone else.
Mm.
Yeah,
And I think the thing that we forget is that we can create that. We can create the
it's not
experience.
something that happens to us.
Oh, no, what happens to us is that our judgments, evaluations, considerations, our worries, our thoughts, our all that our minds produce incessantly, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it teases an interesting question in my brain, Bix, which is, of the people in your life, of the people in my life, who are the people in my life that I love more now than I did a week ago or a month ago or a year ago? Because that is also sort of an indicator of the ongoing um, experience of, wow, that person's awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah, because it sort of, I don't know, my experience of it is that it builds, and then every once in a while you get whacked with, wow, like I really love that person.
Hmm.
And the interesting thing is, of course, and maybe I'm stating the obvious, but it doesn't absolutely have anything to do with a romantic love, although, of course, um, it's wonderful when you have this with the person you experience romantic love with.
Yeah.
But and I do, and I'm grateful for that. But I experience this with, like, guys,
Yes.
and other women in my life who I have no romantic aspirations or whatever's toward, right?
Hmm.
You have those moments where you just look at somebody and just go, you're just awesome. You just did this stuff, and and you just, like, have this moment of their awesomeness.
Hmm. And we can create that. And I think that's easy to forget.
Yeah, so maybe say a little bit more about how we create it, how we can be purposeful about it.
Well, our experience is either given by our stories or our past or our evaluations or our considerations. And that, for the most part, is what we call life. Okay, this is what happened to me. This is what happened to you. We add those parts up, and we therefore have this life. And then, we go to one of these movies as an example, and we see, oh, wait a second, those people had the similar or exact circumstances that I've had, and yet their living of their life isn't determined by those. Their living of their life is determined by something else that was possible. And that's what we get to create. So if I love someone, I am still going to have all my stories, all my past experiences, but that's not going to determine my experience. What's going to determine what's going to have me experience what I experience is that I'm creating that possibility of who that person is for me, which then allows people to step into that experience, right?
Yes.
And yeah,
A- And isn't there also, as I listen to what you're saying, I'm also thinking about, um, I'm going to say it this way, when you make a choice to love somebody, um, you can also make a choice to surrender a bunch of bullshit, right? So in any relationship, uh, there's going to be things here and there, even if they're on the margin, that maybe, you could find irritating or so forth, little things. And you can decide to just not have that bother you. And so, can I tell you a quick story about this?
Yeah.
So I'm married to this woman, right? This incredible woman,
Mm.
Carrie. And so she's out of town right now with a girlfriend on a fun trip. And we have an alarm system. And I don't know why, but last night I decided to put on the alarm system. And it hasn't been on for a while. And we have these outdoor cats that are the love of her life because she loves cats. So we have these two pretty little outdoor kitty cats. That's what you need to know. So I put on the alarm system. I wake up early this morning. I'm not really quite awake. I've just sort of put the coffee on. And I'm going to open the front door to see if the kitty cats are out there and feed the kitty cats.
Yes.
So I open the fucking front door and bing, 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 the alarm goes off, right? Because I
Yeah.
forgot I put the alarm on. And to make matters worse, I forgot the code. I knew the first 4 digits, but I forgot there was a 5th digit. So the thing went bing, bing, bing anyway, long story longer, freaked the kitty cats out. And they're outdoor feral cats. We've had them for a year. And the other thing you need to know is this woman in my life has worked like crazy to tame these cats, and they now come around and she can pick them up and it's really going great. And I just scared the living shit out of the cats. And
Right.
so now it's whatever time it is early this morning, she's in Mexico, and the alarm system company's calling. They're asking for the security code, which of course I don't know. And I'm
Yes.
trying to get a hold of her in Mexico. Anyway, it all gets resolved, fine. But the kitty cats are freaked out. And so I apologized to her. And I gotta believe, I don't know, I'm gonna ask her. I haven't had a chance to ask her
Yeah.
yet. But in that moment, she made a decision. Because what she said to me, Bix, was, "It's okay, I love you."
Oh, exactly. Okay.
Because a lot of people, myself included, would have said, "Hey, you effing and unloaded. I've worked for a year to tame these cats, and you just scared them away, and they may never come back." And blah 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 blah. She didn't do any of that. So I guess maybe that leads to a question, which is, what? How do we make those choices for love, moment to moment?
That's well. First of all, that I am certain, no matter where I am in the house, if I'm downstairs in the kitchen and a glass falls off the counter and Christine is upstairs, it is her fault.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay. And I have quite an extensive list that both of us update. She updates her list, I update my list of all the things that are unsettling for each of us and the other person needs to fix so that each of us can be happy. Okay, so we have our list. It's not written down anywhere, but I promise you it's a long list.
There's a list.
Yeah, that's very important. So your question is, and it's interesting, you changed words from how do we decide to how do we choose. And there's a huge distinction between a decision and a choice.
Yes.
So
funny, I didn't realize I did that, Bix. Interesting.
well, and for the most part, people think that all they have available is a decision. And a decision is to select from the reasons. So I have this many reasons to do this many reasons not to do this. If the reasons are more to do this, therefore that determines my decision.
And so just so I could put a fine point on it, Bix,
Yeah.
I think I hear you saying is the word decision creates a context that says, based on the options, I
Yes.
decided. And what you're really saying when you say that is that the external things made me
Yes.
decide.
Yes. They did the selecting.
Yes.
Exactly. Right. And for most part, we think that that is all we have. And then we live in a
Based on
world.
what's in front of us, we have to make
Yeah.
decisions based on
Yeah.
what life serves us.
You understand? These are the reasons. But come on. You understand. Right. And a choice, one way to talk about a choice is to select freely after consideration. So we look at all the reasons to do something. We look at all the reasons not to do something, but the reasons don't do the selecting. You, me, are the chooser. So who's making the choice is not the reasons. Who's making the choice is ourselves.
Yeah,
And
it makes me think of all the times in my life, Bix, where I made a choice that if you looked at the spreadsheet list of reasons, you'd
yeah,
go, don't make that choice.
yes,
You know, it's interesting. It reminds me of my dear, now retired, and I want to throttle him for doing it, accountant Greg Finley. And I would say, on balance, I probably took 70 or maybe even 80% of his advice over the 20 plus years we were together. Uh, and but sometimes I didn't, and it was like enough times. It wasn't like 100%, but and every time I didn't, I could tell that it sort of irked him.
mm,
And so after a while, I noticed this. I would call him and I'd say, "Hey, Greg, just so you know, the fact that I didn't take your advice doesn't mean I don't value your advice. I value your advice tremendously. And as my accountant, I presume a financial lens on the discussion. And the financial lens on the discussion is like a very, very important lens on the discussion when you're making a decision that has financial implications. And it's not the only lens. But what I always know I can count on you for is you ground me, you force me to understand, and you make sure my comprehension is clear of the pros and cons from a financial perspective of a given decision. And then when I add up um, the sort of other things, even though it quote unquote doesn't make sense on paper, I've decided this is the choice I want to make for my life.
yes,
Yes. That's what we're talking about. Yes.
yes. Yeah, choice is the gateway drug to freedom.
Say that again.
Choice is the gateway drug to freedom.
So why don't we expand on that?
Well,
Because of when I choose from a place of uh,
from a place of choice.
yeah, I was gonna say from a clear place.
Yeah,
I don't know how else to a clean place, or maybe that's not the right way to say it. A place from which we are the generator of the choice.
yes, right.
Where we don't, even if it's subconsciously, take a victim, or these were the options I had, so I chose her because these other two gals not so much.
Yeah, right, right.
What's that old rock and roll song, "Love the One You're With"?
I like that song. I just can't remember which one it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like that. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think given we live in a world of stuff and reasons, we look at our relationships and we calculate the quality of our relationships from stuff and reasons. You do this, 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 and this. You don't do this, 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 and this. You have this, 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 and this. You don't have this, this, and this. Therefore, I'm deciding who you are in my life. Okay, that's fine. And all of us know that have been in relationships for an extended period of time, those reasons, and that stuff disappears quite quickly. uh, and the question is, when it's no longer there, when the reasons and the stuff is no longer there, who are we going to be in the matter? Who are you? Who am I? Who are your listeners for love?
So this what I think is really big. So many of us get into relationships for stuff and reasons,
Yes.
but we know that stuff and reasons goes away. And sometimes it goes away pretty quickly. And so what's left after the stuff and reasons?
Yeah, I don't think that we know that it goes away quickly. I
No.
think that I think we're entranced, we're full of love, we're full of lust, we're full of ideas, we're full of projections, we're full of um, hope, we're full of excitement, enticement, we're full of all the things that are wonderful to be full of. All that stuff is wonderful things, right? Those are like, I want those. I want to be enticed, excited, alive, turned on, lustful. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want it all. Yeah. So
But
I
what you're
know.
saying, it reminds me
Yeah.
of, remember the great Beatles song? I think this is a McCartney one. Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when
Yeah.
I'm 64? Right? Like,
Yeah. Yes.
one day we might not be as attractive and like a lot less attractive.
Well,
and,
yeah, but
and
it's like,
listen, think about the wedding vows, for sick or for poor and for rich,
oh yeah, yeah,
all of that stuff, right?
yeah. No, what I've said to Christine for many years, whoever invented marriage wasn't married. Okay. So,
I don't know why. I'm going to tell you a funny joke that just is a
yeah,
corollary.
yeah.
You know the comedian Ron White?
I don't, but
No,
go ahead.
you would love him. He's
Yeah,
from, I think he's from Texas. He's definitely Southern, and
yeah,
big guy, and he drinks like a bottle of scotch on stage and smokes a cigar. He's very, very funny. He's one of the Jeff Foxworthy guys. Anyways, he says,
yeah.
the best thing about having sex with your wife, you can't get caught. I don't know why I think that's so funny, but I think that's a funny joke.
I think.
So the reasons and stuff persist. She's cute for a long time. You're enamored for a long time, or he's
No, but no, it disappears in a moment, though.
okay. Well,
Turns,
that's what I thought.
turns, turns, turns a little bit that way, and you get a view of that you didn't have before of a different part of the anatomy or different aspect of her life, her parents, your in-laws, your anyway, and boom, well, off, off the list. You're out of here. I can't believe it. I know I'm feeling just, I can't, he didn't tell me you were this way. What the hell? I cannot take it. Right. So
Yeah.
that's called normal. And we think that that's somehow not, it, we shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't have all these feelings, these thoughts, these reasons, they're absolutely real. But the question is, can we love and be a human being, right? And what happens is we have such a small room to be human that then we try to put love in that little small space, and then we wonder why it's so difficult for us
Yeah.
versus let yourself have it all. Remember, have the experience of they're perfect exactly they are and exactly the way they are not, right?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Uh, I remember a conversation. The details aren't important, but the punchline is germane. With having a conversation with a friend about another friend, saying, and then he did this, and then I tried to help him, but he still kept doing this, and then he kept. Anyway, at the end of it, my friend says to me, "Was there anything that he did that he hadn't done before?" I said, "No." I said, "And you had, for some reason, an expectation it was going to be different."
Mm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, it's okay to have these feelings. And here's what I think you're saying. You tell me. Sometimes we have feelings that are other than love for people we love.
Yes.
And what there is to do in those times is it's fine to have those feelings. That's called being human.
Yes.
And B, can we teach ourselves to quickly return to what our intention is, what our goal is, what's true for us with that person? Can we do what Carrie did in the moment where I gotta believe she wanted to throttle me and she didn't? She just
Hmm.
surrendered. There was no heat. It was just,
Yeah. And well, two things is that one is the way you got on the phone, right? Um, you weren't on the phone as a justification. You didn't write down the
no, I was just trying to
code.
get the alarm off. That's all I was trying to do.
Where's the code? You should have written down the code. You knew I was going to use the code, for God's sakes. Why isn't it written down in a place where I could find it? So you didn't.
That's true. I didn't think about that, but no, I did not come guns blazing
Yeah,
at her at all. I was just trying to solve the problem, period.
exactly. Um, and practice.
Yeah.
You've practiced. Carrie's practiced.
Yeah.
And it is a major, big job to stay related. And that doesn't mean, that's the difference between what we've spoken about is the difference between submit and accept. So submit, the way I always think of submit is, okay, let the truck roll over me.
Right.
Uh, and I know you're not a submit kind of a guy, and I'm definitely not a submit kind of
Generally
a guy.
not.
Yeah. Uh, and this other word, accept, which is to breathe life into what's happening. And so that's what makes it a practice. So whatever experiences you were having, whatever thoughts, whatever feelings you were having, you didn't try to make those different than the way they are. That's accepting them. I
Yeah.
still had all this going on. I still have it all going on. And I'm not going to act out of all that. I'm going to commit to acting out of my love, my relationship, my connectedness, and all that. And that takes practice. I don't. My parents grew up from with immigrants, right? So both of my grandparents came from Russia. Tough, tough sledding. I mean,
Literally.
literally complete persecution. And then coming over as immigrants, then having to put whatever they could put together to make a life, and then having children, which ended up as my parents. So all of that years of whatever that journey has been got lived out. My parents had to live that out, and I've had to live that out to whatever degree. So that that's a big part of my anxiety, of my craziness, of my it's not my parents did this to me or their parents did this to them. They've been on this tough journey of what does it take to live in our world today, and all the anxiousness and the fear and and really the life and death struggle of simply being able to survive, and then to have children and have your children have children. That's a lot of bad juju, right?
Well, potentially, for sure. And, life's going to throw you some bad juju, whether you like it or not. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but what I hear you saying is And it goes back to your very early comments, which is that to love someone is to have them be okay, is to have everything be all right.
Exactly the way that they are.
Exactly the way that they are. Beautiful. There's also something that I've learned, uh, and I guess I've always tried to do it, but I don't think I was always very good at it. And I don't know that I'm good at it now, but I'm certainly aware of it in a way that I wasn't certainly earlier along this ride. And that is who we are for somebody else. In particular, just what she did for me, we do that for someone else, and that we let them off.
Mm.
Right. So I have this expression I'm trying to continuously train myself to use, which is, so I'll have a friend who, will not show up,
Mm.
or will break a commitment, or will cancel. Or one of my dearest friends in the world, I love him. He's one of my great surf buddies. He's a great surf coach to me, and has helped me many times when I was down in the dumps learning surfing. And one of the things about him, his name is Tushar, and sometimes we make plans to go surfing, and sometimes Tushar goes surfing, and sometimes he doesn't.
Mm.
And so I kind of have this joke, which is, I know I'm surfing with him when I'm surfing with him.
Yes.
And it would be easy to be a person who said, well, for fuck's sakes, man, that guy, at least, I don't know, 25% of the time we say we're going surfing, he doesn't even fucking show up and rant. You could be that person. That person exists. We all know that person. And for me, it's like, well, hey, that's Tushar. Something came up. And most importantly, forget him. The person I want to be for the people I love, and I love the shit out of him, is, I'm not your problem. Something came up.
Mm-hmm.
Something changed. I don't know what. You do whatever that thing is, and I want you to have zero mental RAM worried about that I'm pissed off. I'm not. At a minimum,
Mm.
you got me to go surfing when maybe I would have and maybe I wouldn't have. So at a minimum, he got my ass in the water. And I'm, disappointed I didn't see him. But listen, it's really not the end of the world. And so you understand my point, right? Which
No, I
is,
like the story though. Yeah.
but we can decide which person, right? We can be the person that makes a very big deal out of that, and he's this and he's that, and judgments and upsets and whatever. Or we can be the person that says, hey, that's Tushar. Sometimes he comes surfing and sometimes he doesn't. And the truth is, we all do stuff like that. And so I want to be the person for the people in my life that's not, I don't want to be their problem. We all have problems. There's real problems in the world, right? There's a crisis in Syria. There's like shit going on, right? The people are dying of the flu right now. It's scary, right? Shit's,
Mm.
shit, right? And
Mm.
so, and maybe this is another thing that's been in my head a lot lately, which is, and it's probably overly binary, Bix, but my actions are either making a difference. They're either helping or they're hurting,
Yes.
right? And so when something happens, you could make it worse by being upset, or you could say, fuck it, I'm not your problem. It's okay. Whatever it is, it's okay.
Yes. And to find creative ways so that people can see themselves. So you're not submitting to, in this case with your surfing buddy, that's a great story. But I remember one of the old stories about Phil Jackson, the basketball coach, when he took over one of his teams, he put the chairs in the room all over the place, just chair here, the chair here, chair here, chair here, chair here. And then the team came in, they sat down in the chairs that were all over the place. And he started talking about, okay, here's what we're going to do for the season. Here's what we think is going to work and all that. And finally, one of the players said to him, Coach, how come we're sitting with the chairs like this? And he said, well, I figured you play the game that way with each other. You might as well sit that way with each other.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yes. All right, Bix. Anything else
Yes.
you want to touch on about love?
it's backwards. We think that we give to those that we love. But love is, we love those to whom we give.
It's so interesting. I would love it if you could just say it again.
Yeah. So we think, or the world says, well, give to those people that you love. You know, that's who you give to. But try that the other way, that we actually love to those whom we give.
And I just love it. You and I have talked about this before. And the thing that's so interesting, uh, recently we had Sebastian Younger on the show.
Yes.
And, you know, a guy who's thinking and who's researching his work, I think is very important to spark dialogue. It was, you know, very important to talk about tribe and connection and belonging. And one of the things he said is he's seen research that shows beyond a shadow of a doubt from the delivery of dopamine and other kind of reward systems in our brains that the person who gives the bigger tip than they quote unquote should receives more chemical brain reward, if you will,
Yes.
than the server who gets
Mm,
the really big tip and is excited about that tip. The giver
yeah.
gets more than the receiver, and that's actually
Yeah.
been scientifically proven.
Mm. Well, let's make it a practice.
Absolutely. Anything else, Mr. Bixson?
Thank you.
Bix,
Appreciate it. Yes.
I love you, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
for, all right. Cheers. Bye.
Whew. If you love this episode as much as I do, haha, please share it with somebody you love right now. And again, want to thank you so much for making Legends and Losers a hit show, and our friends at CIO Magazine for naming us a top entrepreneur podcast. Thank you so much. And send us your review to blackhole@legendsandlosers.com, and we will get you a copy of the new teaser for our new book called Niche You. All right. We would like to thank Bixon2.com, where executives go to hack the future. Check them out. HarperCollins, Play Bigger, How Pirates, Dreamers, and Innovators Create and Dominate Markets. The nonprofit that helps you dream, plan, and live your best life. OneLifeFullyLived.org. Check us out. Mint Systems. We help create green buildings that make money. Check us out. MYNT Systems. Check us out on the internet. The Garlic Marketing Show podcast with our friend Ian Garlic. Check it out. It's the marketing podcast that does not stink. The awesome book by our friend and guest, Eddie Yoon, Super Consumers. Why don't you pick up a couple hundred copies for your friends today, wherever you buy legendary books? Super Consumers, Eddie Yoon. The nonprofit 2041.com. This is Robert Swan's organization that is committed to help protecting Antarctica. Robert was our guest on episode 111 live from the South Pole. It's riveting. Check it out. 2041.com. DeVry University, making a difference since 1931. Check us out at devry.edu. The Flourishing Leadership Institute, facilitating positive change. Check us out at lead2flourish.com. That's lead2flourish.com. And last but not least, Reno, Nevada. Johnny Cash shot a man here just to watch him die. We'd like to remind you that today's episode is absolutely recorded in a studio that does contain nuts, and it's provided to you solely for informational purposes, and we would love it if you shared the shit out of it. We must warn you, all episodes are produced in a studio that clearly does contain nuts. The producers of this oddcast may have been consuming libations. In the event of a boring business conversation, learn to talk, lochhead. Take 2 Legends and Losers and tweet us in the morning. Don't be lame. Get out of the passing lane. Got to remind you, it's okay to pee in your wetsuit. Support your local future hacker. Don't forget, we're on Google Play. Listen to the Tragically Hip. I love you, Mom and Dad. Thank you so much, Dandy Candy. And hey, Colin, this oddcast really ties the room together, doesn't it? Today, our deepest apologies go out to Kim Kardashian. Sorry, Kimmy, we just ran out of time for you. That's it, my friends. We love you very much, and we hope to see you again soon on another episode of Legends and Losers.